Star Citizen Alpha 3.18 has finally been released to Wave 1 PTU. We'll be covering all the various features over the next few days of the patch as we sort of trundle towards a live build. Cloud Imperium have also said with this 3.18 Wave 1 release, we are limiting the number of connections and granting access gradually to avoid initial overload and to isolate expected issues. For this reason, you may find difficulties connecting. Hang in there, and thank you for your patience. So if you're in Wave 1, expect teething issues. Also, it's just the US servers that it's going to be running on, so you can still connect if you're in the EU or whatever, but expect more lag. I'm expecting not being able to connect to the servers at all, and 30Ks for the first few hours. So we'll be covering a lot more of this tomorrow, once we can actually get on and get footage that we want. But to tide you over, let's go over the patch notes and new features that have turned up in Wave 1 patch, as there are a few new features here, and some evolution of ones that we already knew about, but they have changed somewhat. So, Platform Assault on Orison. So this is the addition of Bounty, Assassinate, Clear All, and other missions that take place on the Inspiration Park platforms created for the Siege of Orison. This includes Eliminate All missions, similar to the current Underground Facility missions. For these islands, the player will be tasked with killing everyone in a given building. These mercenary missions, available from Crusader Industries, will have 3 difficulty curves ranging from an easy, clear all of 1 building, to a hard clearing of 3 buildings. There are also Eliminate specific missions, tasking a player to kill a single or multiple bosses based on difficulty. For players to qualify and receive these missions, they first need to complete a security work assessment for Crusader security. I'm hoping that Cloud Imperium scrub that requirement, or make it so that you can do the security work assessment on those platforms. Because for me, being able to jump in as a new player and get into some easy FPS missions, fantastic. The first implementation of salvage has now come to the Persistent Universe, which includes both hull stripping as well as repair. This includes both performing hull stripping and repairs by hand, as well as hull stripping using systems aboard the Drake Vulture and the Aegis Reclaimer. Using highly advanced compression technology, these tools break down ships and exteriors of vehicles, converting them into RMC, recycled material composite, and store them in canisters attached. The player then has the option to either use the material to repair their ship using the FPS multi-tool by filling in damaged areas, or they can sell this material as a commodity. This feature also has the addition of many new discoverable derelict ships in space around places like asteroid belts, with many more common smaller ships and much rarer larger ships for players to salvage. There's also the addition of the Drake Vulture in this patch, the light salvage ship. Salvaging while in a vehicle is a mode like mining. To be able to scrape the hull of a newly found wreck, the target must have its shields turned off. An indicator on your UI will inform you about shield state. To enter and exit salvage mode, hit M. Players can right-click to cycle through attached beams in the sub-item slot. By left-clicking, players can activate and deactivate the scraper beam. There are 2 modes players can be in while salvaging by pressing G: converging and fixed mode. Fixed mode acts like weapons and points the salvage beam directly where the player aims the ship, while converging mode lets players gimbal the beams independently. Left Alt and mouse wheel will move converging point of the beams. Left Alt and right click will switch between vertical and horizontal converging mode. Players will need to manually remove filled stored boxes from the ship's salvage area using a handheld tractor beam, or by converting it into IMC canisters for repair. You can also get a multi-tool attachment for your multi-tool for salvage, and this will allow you to scrape and repair in FPS using that tool. With a salvage module, you'll need ammo for that as well, which is the RMC. Again, you can only hull strip the vehicle or ship when the shields are down. You can cycle between salvage and repair modes when you've got that multi-tool with the salvage attachment equipped by pressing B. Salvage locations will appear in the verse without the need to get into ship combat as well, so there will be ships that are effectively permanently disabled. There's an additional 30 new small derelict outpost locations across planets and moons in Stanton. These are additional variants of those already placed on Microtech in 3.17. Each location features a collection of ruined outposts in varying degrees of disrepair, along with missions and AI inhabitants. New rivers in Stanton. There are 40 new rivers and lakes on Microtech and Hurston. That is a lot. Physicalized cargo tier 0. This refactor of the ship cargo system allows both found and purchased cargo to be picked up, moved around, and placed into the cargo grid of a ship. The cargo system has been completely rewritten with this refactor. The cargo boxes that you see in the ship are actual individual boxes, which can be added and removed from the physical cargo grid with a tractor beam and snap to the grid for perfect placement. As part of this refactor, we've built the commodity kiosk UI in building blocks, which will be used to buy and sell cargo to and from a ship and players' inventories. This is an update to the standard trading commodities as well as harvestables and mineable entities too. There are new courier delivery missions. These new missions are placed around local delivery companies for each planet system in Stanton and give players more focused areas for deliveries. There are 4 new delivery reputations based on the area you are in, and these missions can be acquired after completing the intro missions for local delivery companies in your area. Sandbox prison activities. The expansion of prison gameplay with a new suite of missions and sandbox activities to give inmates more opportunities to earn merits or to aid in their escape from prison. The prison and its mine are now filled with an emergent population of prison guards and civilian prisoners with lootable items. Players will be able to loot contraband located throughout the prison mines and from dead bodies and sell to the prison kiosk for merits. This includes a brand new prison escape delivery mission where players have to find and loot an item in the escape route and then deliver it to the nearest outpost. Upon doing this, the player will have their criminal record wiped by the mission giver. Players will also incur a punishment for suiciding in prison. However, if they retrieve their gear from their body, they can pay off this merit value instantly. Security Post Korea has also seen a load of updates and improvements, so it's going to be taking a much more central role in Stanton security. Crusader Security have moved in full-time staff and have begun storing confiscated contraband aboard. The station will be off-limits to all civilians unless given prior authorization. Korea has undergone a full art redesign and polish. This includes a new evidence and contraband processing office with interactable contraband dispenser, new traversal paths, new color schemes and branding, and updated set dressing and cover around the whole interior. The interior and exterior of Korea have been updated with armed AI reinforcements, including new Crusader security loadouts and police detectives in Kevlar. Inside Korea, criminal players will now be able to trigger a boss spawn after killing several AI. After this boss has been killed, players will be able to loot them and find a code on their body that will unlock the terminal inside the evidence storage room. After unlocking, players will be able to activate the contraband machine to dispense drugs. The player will be able to keep getting drugs out of the dispenser until a set amount of items are generated, randomized between 15 and 20 items. Once all items have been retrieved, the security terminal will lock itself, and upon leaving the contraband room, the door should lock, not allowing players to access the area. Also here, there's a new retake location mission. So this is going to be generated for players when the Security Post Korea deems itself under attack, when X amount of guards are basically being killed. So this will be generated for bounty hunters to basically turn up at that location and lawfully enter and remove all hostile attackers. Each attacker a player kills will give them a bonus after completing the mission. Any players in the area contributing to the mission will also get part of the overall reward. There are a huge amount more law system improvements as well. If you just have a crime stat 1 or 2, you can no longer be lawfully attacked. So AI and defenses and players will not attack you. They'll not attack you on sight. Well, say players won't attack you. They're not legally allowed to attack you. Murder will still get you a crime stat 3. Crime stat 3 will be attack on sight from guards and defenses, and you won't be able to basically request a landing. But if you've got a crime stat 1 or 2, you'll be able to request landings at landing zones and stations still. Security and ships that scan you will tell you to go pay off your crime stat if you are 1 or 2, and a load of crimes will now effectively be pay off fines rather than go to prison. Crimes will still be cumulative effectively, so if you get a couple of serious crimes and some minor crimes, they may all add up to a crime stat 3. That said, if you can get to a fine terminal, you will be able to pay off some of that crime stat stuff and actually go down a level. If you can't afford to pay off your fines as well, you can surrender at these kiosks, basically getting a 25% discount on your prison sentence. Also, if you have basically any fines that you need to pay off or any crimes that you've committed, you will be shown as having a crime stat 1. You have a week to pay off a fine, otherwise it doubles in price. Also, you can only now hack down a criminal rating at Security Post Korea, but they've reduced the time it takes to remove each individual infraction because it's the only place you can do it. Time trial racing. So racing time trials have finally come to the persistent universe. Players are able to test their skills versus set times on the newly added racetracks around landmarks in the persistent universe, earning rewards based on performance and even unlocking more racetracks as they progress. Players can pick up the first racing mission for the outskirts of Lawville, and with enough racing prowess, get reputation to move on to the rest of the time trials around Stanton. All of these racetracks are for ships, and for testing, after completing the Lawville racetrack time trial, reputation will unlock the rest of the racetracks all at once. So this is intended just basically for testing. So there are 6 new racetracks here, and they are the Hurston, Lawville gateways. So this is the start of the time trial missions and unlocks the rest of them, or starts to. We have Daymar, Yedar Valley, Orizon, Kaplan Stadium, Grimhex, Miner's Lament, Uterpi, Icebreaker, and ArcCorp, the Skyscraper. Restricted Areas version 3. Complete rework of the restricted area tech around landing zones. Instead of ships being autopiloted away or destroyed upon entering a restricted area, players are now given more freedom to fly and maneuver around cities. Upon entering a restricted area, players will now be given a text warning, a countdown, and an arrow pointing towards the exit. If the countdown ends or they go further into the restricted area, the players will be teleported to a safe location. Their ship will be impounded, and they will receive a misdemeanor crime stat. This feature also applies to ground vehicles. Players outside of a vehicle won't receive a countdown, but will be teleported to safety if they venture too far into a restricted area. Caterpillar Crash Sites version 1. They've added base AI to populate Caterpillar Crash Sites, and they've added kill specific and kill all missions, including a general polish pass and visual improvements too. And we've got the Reclaimer Derelict Settlements version 2 here as well. General polish pass to Reclaimer, including additional buildings and general visual improvements. We have the Daymar Crash Site. So this is the Mercury Star Runner and 600 IREX with a sort of little settlement around them. And there's missions here too. And we've got the Sand Cave Archetypes. So this is sand caves that are going to be in various places, from Hurston to Magda, Daymar, Ita, Walla, loads of places. These new sand caves will include the brand new land crustacean known as the Stone Bug, with its new harvestable, the Stone Bug Shell. So is this the first animal, first bugling that we're getting in Star Citizen, first alien creature properly? We've got Persistent Entity Streaming, or PES. So this is part of the core technology that's going to make up, it's like server meshing and stuff. It makes use of the entity graph and replication layer services and allows every dynamic object in the game to fully persist across all servers, irrelevant of whether it's owned or held by a player. It doesn't have all of the cool stuff that we'd want, like shard affinity and being able to get back in the same server necessarily as you've left. But if you leave a pile of stuff in a server, that pile will persist for other players to see, and server states are saved. So that could potentially be there for a long, long time, and you could eventually get back into that server. There's quality of life inventory updates. So they've added the ability for long-term persistence items to stack in inventory, added transfer all buttons to inventories that work based on selected filters. They've added visual feedback attempting to quick move an item that won't fit into a targeted inventory. Basically, a load of quality of life updates that we've really wanted. They've implemented toggle option to the top right of player's inventory to always show or hide item ports for equipping gear. There have been NPC loadout updates as well, so armor sets and clothing and all that sort of jazz. Ground vehicle speed changes. They've done a pass on ground vehicles, and basically they've changed the speeds of some of them. So some Cyclones and the Urza are faster, Rox, the Mule, and the PTV is slower. Some other bits, they've increased shield down delay from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. They've greatly increased the hull health of the 600i. They've added parallax interior window shaders for buildings around all landing zones. They've enabled the Gen 12 renderer, improving CPU bottlenecks, and this is going to be a platform for Vulkan integration. Hopefully people will see a little tiny bit of improvement even if they weren't CPU bottlenecking. They've updated commodity kiosks to use the building blocks tech. Request takeoff and landing has a new default key binding of Alt N. Various ships, missions, and locations have had their issues fixed. Arena Commander has seen various updates with scoring, bug fixing, and additional ships to rent in it as well. So they've actually done a little bit of a pass of that. It's worth playing Arena Commander again. And boom, that's it for your patch update and a bit of a summary there. There are a huge amount of fixes and updates and stuff like that are more minor here, and they're going to expand that list out until we get a live build. So that might not even be the full list of features either, because there's certainly going to be some extra tweaks and stuff going on. We know things like Jumpdown 2.0 are supposed to be here or turn up when they actually run that event, and Jumptown and the other Jumptown sort of sites, they've doubled in size. They've got 2 dispensaries. There's soft destruction as well. So soft destruction, basically ships most of the time won't explode once they've been defeated in combat, and will be sort of permanently disabled and boardable, so you can steal their cargo. But if they've got a player crew, those players will have survived that, and you might have to fight them to get their cargo. And so interesting, NPC crews will be killed, and you can over-damage. You can keep on shooting a target after it's been disabled to blow it up, it seems, which is what will probably happen if a ship sort of gets disabled in atmosphere. It's going to be disabled, then hit the ground, and then explode. But what do you think? Will Cloud Imperium try to fast-track this Wave 1 release to try and get to a live release in the next few days, or will it just be open PTU for 3.18 until they can get the live release done in January? Are you excited by any of those features? Were you expecting more? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Do you have eyes? I know I do. Do you want precise eye and head tracking that's natively supported in Star Citizen for that deep immersion? And it just so happens that Tobii Eye Tracker 5 has a 20% off sale until the 2nd of January 2023. So go to tobii.gg/BoredGamer or follow the links down below to get your discount.
Ho ho ho! Merry Nordmas!
It's Santa!
No, Timmy, it's Father Nordmas. I'm legally distinct and spread NordVPN cheer. Here you go, little Tim. Have some discount on your next NordVPN purchase. Just what you wanted. Go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer.
But Santa, we don't want a VPN.
I told you, Tim, it's Father Nordmas.
Every month we have a ship giveaway. For December, we are giving away the Mighty Drake Corsair Explorer with a Star Citizen game package and lifetime insurance. This no-nonsense Explorer can take you and 3 friends to the limits of adventure around the verse, and although more focused on exploration and expedition, it is a great multi-role mission runner too. Comment on any of my videos during December to be in for a chance of winning that. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Please don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the videos, leave comments, and if you feel so inclined, use the join button under my videos and give a little bit each month to help the channel. It really, really does help. Or you can even become a Patreon or donate. Check out all the links below. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great time in the verse.